Hey everybody, welcome back to Jitterbug Home Services. Today we're fixing a gate that is used for closing up the dumpster here. So here you can see that's the old hinge, and it seized up, snapped off, doesn't move at all, and the bolt snapped off right here. There's the other side of the bolt right there. And then this one looks like they just popped it out because the top one wasn't holding anymore, so that one's not holding, but I'm guessing this one's probably seized too. These are serviceable hinges, but how often they're serviced is anyone's guess, and I would guess probably never. So I have to cut these off at the welds, clean it up, weld new hinges on, and connect the gate up to it, and then fix a couple of slats in the gate. There's one right here that's loose, and there's one right here that's loose. So, yep, gonna be a fun day. Try not to light anything on fire that I'm not supposed to light on fire, and take it nice and easy. Anytime doing this kind of work, welding's a bit of a slower job, and so just take it nice and slow, say my prayers before the work, and make sure everything goes good. So you guys are along for the ride. So I don't often wear all the safety gear I'm supposed to, but there are times when I'm working on something like this and cutting metal and welding metal that I just got sick of getting burned and metal shards thrown in my face and arms for so many times of doing it, that these days I wear a little bit of safety equipment. So safety glasses, and I've got my sleeves on for when I start welding, but I'm using it now because it's actually cold out and I didn't want to ruin my jacket. I've also burned most of my clothing doing this kind of stuff, but I don't really care about that right now. So anyways, I'm going to start cutting these off, and then I'll start getting onto the prep work, and we'll get to welding on the new hinges. You probably can't see it, so I'll try to get you a little closer here. I thought all my batteries were charged. Apparently I was wrong. So now I have 4 batteries sitting on chargers. Luckily these batteries, it's Makita, these batteries with their chargers only take like 30 to 45 minutes to charge each battery. So I should have a whole bunch of new ones here pretty soon. That thing was tough, man. Took a lot of cutting. Alright, I'll have to clean that up before I can weld it. But before any of that happens, I'm going to make sure that everything lines up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this bottom one off, knock that all the way off, and then I'll get these bolts out of the gate and install the new bolts on the gate before any of that happens. So I'll have to lift the gate up and bring it over to the pole to make sure that everything lines up before I ever decide to weld it on. I may tack them in place just to mock everything up correctly. but still, all of that needs to happen before I can actually get down to putting in good beads to make sure that this thing doesn't move again. If you guys want to see what my view looks like, I'll show you right here. Idea on why I wear my sunglasses, 3M safety glasses. I got hot metal just spraying into my face. Oopsies, I broke my hammer. It happens. Wooden handle hammers are definitely easier on the arms. So now I'm using a hatchet with a plastic handle. Probably won't break as easily, but it's also not as heavyweight as what I was just using, so we'll see what happens. There we go. That one took a little while, but these welds are quite solid, so they did a great job welding it on in the first place. It's just that nobody came by to service the hinges, and well, if you don't grease a hinge and it's in the rain, it's probably gonna rust. So it is metal, obviously. So now I have to take a grinding wheel, clean that up some. I might leave a little bit of material on, but I at least need to clean it so that it gets good contact for the new weld to go on. Like I had mentioned before, you know, I have to take the bolts off, the old hinges off, and put the new ones on, and just make sure everything works out on this thing. You'll see me pull out my high lift jack. That's what I brought to lift this, just because it's heavy. The high lift lifts a lot of weight and it's easy to use as long as you're careful with it, because it's also a dangerous tool, along with my grinder and my welder. None of them are really safe tools to use if you don't know how to use them. But yeah, I'm just gonna get this, keep on going. So I did delete one safety thing from my grinder just now, just because I don't feel like dealing with it. And it's the cover, it's the blade guard. If you're not skilled in using a grinder, if you haven't used one very often or ever at all, don't take that off. But I've used these for years and years. And so I don't feel like dealing with having a blade guard over it. I want to see what I'm grinding. So I just took it off, and I'll grind without it. I have to pay attention to where the sparks are going and make sure I don't, you know, get the blade caught on anything and just whip this tool into my face. That should be good. I have my safety glasses on, so, you know, we're halfway there. So with doing the grinding, obviously with something like this, you got to take a little bit of material off. You can see the thickness of the material right there. You also want to take the rust and any paint off so that you can get a good contact for your welding. For things like here, just take the rust off, but I don't need to take any material off. And I may do a little bit of welding there, and it's only for if I need to tack in these bolts at all, just to make sure they don't move. I can show you right here where I already did a little bit of grinding. And so it's just to make good contact with the metal so that you don't have any issues. I still have to grind back the material on the hinges to make sure that they also have good contact. If you're using a stick welder, you could, for the most part, weld through, depending on what rod you're using, weld through paint and weld through rust if you don't have a grinder around. Now, obviously it's not perfect and it's going to be messy because it has to get through that material to get to the metal, but it is possible. I'm using a flux core MIG welder. Using flux core because I'm outside. If there's any kind of breeze, it could blow the gas away, and flux core doesn't need gas. And so I'm self-taught on MIG. I bought one a couple of years ago, tinkered around with it for a while, got halfway decent at it to where at least the metal sticks together. My welds usually aren't pretty, but I don't care. I have a grinder and I have a can of spray paint to cover the weld so it doesn't rust, and that also covers any of the ugliness that happens from it. It is what it is. I'm not a welder by trade, but I do offer this service occasionally for customers that need something like this done, where it's, you know, a hinge to support a gate so that they can close up their dumpster and it's not wide open to the public. So that's about what I'm talking about. Took all the material off, nice and flat, round, but flat, and wide open metal. So now I can make whatever bead I need to get this hinge to stay on there. So down to the next one. I won't bore you guys with that one. Alright, so I measured out the height using one of my sawhorses on its side, just to keep the gate lifted up to where it needs to be for opening and closing, having smooth accessibility. The way I measured it was to lay my sawhorse on its side next to the other gate on the cement to see where it measured up. It was close, wasn't dead on, but close enough that it should pretty well match up. It looked a little bit higher than what the other gate looks like, although if I were to measure from the gate to where it reaches the top of the post, I think it's actually still lower than what this one is. So I have the bolts in, part of the hinges in on both. See that one? I didn't take a whole lot of material off of that, and I may take more off of that, but to get that to match up, I'm actually gonna have to lift up the corner back there of the gate, which will swing this hinge out that direction a little bit more, so that it matches up better, because this slat right here is kind of in the way. I'm going to grind the backs of these, which are my new hinges. So I'm going to grind the backs of these and the sides of these so that I can have good connection to weld them onto the post. And once I have those ground down, I'll tack them in place and check to make sure that they look good. Once they look good, then I'll run beads on them and fully weld them in place to get this repaired. Here we go. Alright, so I have my first hinge set up. It's a magnet holding it up. Ha ha ha. There was a magnet holding it on. I'll find that one in a minute. anyways, that's a magnet holding it on where it goes. There it is. It didn't fall far, it's right there. I'm over here looking for it. So you can see I ground it down so that it's showing metal. Put it on its hinge pin. Slide it up. And then I'm just pulling these magnets up to hold on to it so it doesn't move, because I don't have it in perfect contact with the pull here, only because I'm working alone like always. So anyways, I'm going to tack it onto this spot. Now of course I'm going to have to push on it right here to tack it on, but I'm going to tack it up, make sure it looks good, and then I'll run a couple of beads on it to get it to stay steady. Once that one is fully secured and on there, I will then move on to the bottom one. Bottom one's going to have to come out. I think I already mentioned that. But I'm going to have to push the gate out that direction, just to get it to line up the way it should. I'm putting my connection, because I ground out around where the bolts are going on, where the nuts are going on. So my connection to metal is right there. So for MIG, arc, TIG, stick, everything, you have to have 2 metal connections. And so you're connected to metal there, and then to make the spark, which makes the weld, you're touching the other contact and creating the voltage to make it work. It's like I'm turned up a little high, but I probably need to be. It's pretty thick stuff. So we'll see how it starts to lay out a bead, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I have them both partially welded on, and I'm going to show you one of my least favorite ways of welding, but when you have something this low, there's really not much choice, especially because it's fixed position, it's not under a vehicle or anything. So spark land on my ear, that hurt. So anyways, those ought to hold. I've got to close the gate and weld the other sides that I can't get to with the gate slats in the way, and then just clean up and paint over them, and that part will be done. Fix the slats and job's finished. Of course I'll swing it back and forth a couple of times, test it out, make sure everything works, but there it is. That's how this is done. Y'all have a great day. God bless. Pray to God. He answers if you talk to him. I promise you. See ya.